Ukrainian troops have destroyed a Russian boat in the southern part of the front. The boat targeted by Ukrainian forces was carrying Russian landing troops, according to the Southern Defense Forces of Ukraine. The operation to strike the boat was carried out by the 40th Separate Coastal Defense Brigade that is involved in coastal defense. Enemy boat with landing troops eliminated, a hit by the 1st Battalion, the Southern Defense Forces of Ukraine reported. They added that warfare on the water is no less important or intense than on land. The footage of the attack on the boat has been shared on Telegram channel of the Marine Corps. Being a unit of Ukrainian Marine Corps, the 40th Separate Coastal Defense Brigade was established in 2023 as a part of the creation of 4 other brigades in response to Russia's full-fledged invasion of Ukraine.
Russian oil refineries and oil depots are on the priority list of targets. Ukraine strikes them, assesses the damage and attacks again if it is not successful. Retired British Major General Chip Chapman told The Telegraph about this interview. He explained why Ukraine is attacking the Russian oil industry. Attacks on economic targets are one way Ukraine could potentially destabilize Russia in the future, he said. This is reminiscent of Senator McCain's statement that Russia is nothing more than a gas station with nuclear weapons masquerading as a country. What really needs to be done is to map the supply chains from production to processing and export and see where the vulnerabilities are in this chain and which links are best to hit, says the military expert. He recalled that over the past 3 months, we have seen many attacks on Russian oil refineries. Attacks on the shadow fleet work to limit it through secondary sanctions, which Trump mentioned 500% against countries buying Russian oil, gas, and uranium in the future. So, where are these vulnerabilities? These are the ones that need to be mapped and hit, the British general notes. In his opinion, Ukraine should do similar things in a purely military context. What lines of communication, production and transportation of fuel to the front lines? Because, as General Patton said in 1944, after the landing in Normandy, men can eat their belts, but I have to have fuel, Chip Chapman concluded. So it is not excluded that new large-scale Ukrainian attacks will begin on Russian oil refineries and oil depots, fuel supply lines to the front. Ukraine has increasingly targeted Russian energy infrastructure, including oil refineries and fuel depots, to disrupt supplies to Russian forces. The strikes are part of a broader strategy to weaken Russia's military logistics and economic resilience amid the ongoing war. Since the beginning of 2025, Ukraine has launched a wave of long-range drone attacks against military and industrial targets inside Russia. The Kremlin remains tight-lipped over the impact of these airstrikes, but open-source data and media reports point to significant damage to at least 8 Russian refineries, along with a number of oil depots and key logistical points, such as pumping stations and ports used for oil and gas exports. The range of targets suggests a well-planned Ukrainian campaign to methodically dismantle Russia's energy infrastructure. Back in the fall of 2022, there was information that the Russian government was discussing a backup scenario for moving decision-making centers from the capital to another city. This was reported by the Telegram channel of the Russian Federation, Kremlin Snuffbox, citing sources in the government. There were 3 cities among the candidates: Yaroslavl, Yekaterinburg, and Kazan. The channel's interlocutors said that the government has finally decided to move the capital. They want to start with individual political institutions and departments. In connection with the latest attacks by the enemy, discussions about the transfer of individual organs have really intensified. But no one in their right mind would trade Moscow for Novosibirsk or Kazan, says a government source. Kiev has stepped up its long-range drone campaign against Russia in recent months, particularly targeting Moscow and key military infrastructure. Though most drones are intercepted before reaching the capital, the threat has caused repeated disruptions to civilian air travel. Since January the 1st, Ukrainian drone raids have prompted more than 225 temporary airport closures across Russia. Recall, Russia's main card is its vastness of military resources, frontline manpower, tolerance for pain, and financial reserves. But repeatedly, Kyiv has shown targeted pinpricks can burst these bubbles. In late 2022, the Ukrainians struck supply lines across occupied northern parts of Ukraine, causing a swift and embarrassing collapse of Russian positions. In 2023, they hit the Kerch Strait Bridge, linking Russia to occupied Crimea. And last year, they invaded Kursk, Russia proper, exposing the vulnerability of the Russian war machine's borders. On each occasion, the narrative of the war swung back in Ukraine's favor. It also brings to the forefront one of the key lessons of this war: the capacity for advances in technology, solid intelligence, and bold execution to reverse military trajectories many observers felt were settled. Ukraine's first use of attack drones in 2023 has evolved to a wide-scale tactic, enabling it to survive the onslaught of overwhelming Russian infantry attacks across wide, imperiled front lines. It has sent sea drones to hit Russia's prized Black Sea Fleet. Russia's lumbering bulk of a military machine projects invulnerability and fearlessness towards the longest of wars as a tactic. It uses the idea of time being on its side as a key asset. But strikes like the weekend's show its hardware is vulnerable, limited, and probably not easy to replace.